Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Entrepreneur, and arbitration is a topic that we have discussed on this channel before. Not as much as I would have liked. I think we should have been discussing this a lot sooner, only until it has become more of an obvious problem. Did I start talking about it? That's my bad, but we are discussing it now, and you know who else is discussing it? Politicians, because politicians think it's a very dirty thing for companies to put in their contracts that people cannot talk about their grievances with work and must work them out with the company itself. According to this article from CNET, pressure is mounting on Uber for it to let passengers who've allegedly been sexually assaulted by their drivers sue the company in public court. Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Democrat from Connecticut, wrote a letter to Uber CEO Dara K. on Wednesday, calling him to release reported sexual assault survivors from their private arbitration agreements and let them sue the company in court. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I agree with the senator, for the record. Totally agree with him. No CEO is ever going to willingly let their passengers, this is even the drivers, this is the passengers. I didn't realize there was arbitration against the passengers as well. Boy, this video got really interesting. I don't believe for a second that any CEO in their right mind would release anyone from arbitration to sue them in public court. That's the whole point of arbitration, and Uber is not an honest company. If they were, they wouldn't have the arbitration in the first place. But let's continue. He said such agreements silence victims. Yeah, that's the whole point, Senator Richard. That's the whole point, is to silence the victims. That's what arbitration is. And you're going to ask them to willingly let that step away from that? Quote, I challenge you to finally demonstrate how seriously you take the issue of sexual harassment and assault. Your company must lead by example and show that it values transparency and your user safety more than your company's bottom line. Ooh. We're going to talk about that in a moment. When people sign up to use the Uber app, they must click on and agree to the company's terms of service. Within those terms, it says riders agree that legal disputes with the company must take place in private arbitration, not public court. It also means they cannot be part of a class action lawsuit with others who've gone through similar experiences. Let's see here. San Francisco-based Uber, valued at around $72 billion, is one of the largest ride-hailing companies on the planet, operating in nearly 75 countries. It gives millions of rides per day, but as Uber has grown, the company's come under fire for numerous allegations of drivers committing sexual assaults. Uber has acknowledged the problem and says it's working to make its platform safer, but not safe enough for the victims to speak, obviously. It launched several new safety features last month, including an in-app emergency 911 button and tougher driver screenings that require annual background checks. Yeah, as far as that 911 button goes, I was thinking about that, and, it's one button compared to three. This is their button. This is 911. Sorry. Yeah, it's not that big of a difference, so what would truly help, is if that button went to the local law enforcement, so that there'd be no transferring and everything, but whatever. Sexual assault has no place anywhere, an Uber spokesperson said in an email. We are committed to doing our part to end this violence. Blumenthal's letter comes after a report from CNN found that at least 103 Uber drivers and 18 Lyft drivers have allegedly raped, forcibly touched, or kidnapped passengers, among other crimes, over the last 4 years. To get that information, CNN combed police reports, federal court records, and county court databases across the U.S. Both Uber and Lyft have declined to make public any data on such allegations. And you want them to take away arbitration. It's like, Richard, they're doing this for a reason. They know what they're doing is wrong. They know their product isn't safe. I mean, granted, I don't think we expect it to be safe. I don't expect it to be safe. You're picking up strangers. And there's always going to be a level of, I don't need to advertise that guy for free. There's always going to be an air of unsafety about that. Just the way it is. The pressure on Uber to release alleged victims from private arbitration agreements started building last week when a group of 14 women wrote an open letter to Uber's board of directors. In their letter, they said they were all sexually assaulted by Uber drivers in separate incidences incidents, 9 of these women are suing Uber for the assaults and say the company misled them about the safety of its service. Well, of course, Uber is not going to actually say their service is unsafe. And if their background checks were better, and maybe if they didn't have so many convicted criminals on the service, maybe it'd be a little safer. But such is the world we live in. Such is what you get when you want to go anywhere you want to go for $2.80. Quote, forcing female riders as a condition of using Uber's app to pursue claims of sexual assault and rape in secret arbitration proceedings does not make streets safer. In fact, it does the opposite. Silencing our stories deprives customers and potential investors from the knowledge that a horrific experience are part of the widespread problem of Uber. Oh yeah, lady, you hit it on the record. You hit it. Of course it hides the fact that there is something inherently unsafe with the problem. It allows Uber to not deal with the problems. That's why they have arbitration. You know, I'm reading this article, and here's the thing. I agree with everything being said. Arbitration is total nonsense. It is, and it has no place being there. It's there to protect criminals and shady companies. And yet, it's by design. That's why they have it there. They know they're criminals. They know they're shady. Heck, this is a company that killed a woman a few weeks ago. Or was it weeks? Has it been months? Time flies, I tell you. Over the driverless car crash. Uber murdered a woman, and you can't convince me they didn't. Of course they wanted to be in arbitration. They settled as quickly as possible because they didn't want their dirty work out there. And that's why they have arbitration. If the case ends up in arbitration, the women named in the suit will still be free to speak to the public about the case. However, the day-to-day proceedings will be off limits. Now, let's go back up here. Let's to this comment that I wanted to talk about again. He said, I challenge you to finally demonstrate how seriously you take the issue of sexual harassment and assault. Your company must lead by example and show that it values transparency and your user safety more than your company's bottom line. I agree, and by the way, this is the very thing Dara K has claimed to want to do ever since he took office. He was there to clean up the company image and to take it public. And of course, fixing problems like this should be top of very high on the list of things. And yet, the stories have not stopped. I'm still sharing the exact same stories I was a year ago when Travis was our CEO. Nothing has changed. All we hear is nonsense, and pontification and a bunch of showmanship. Now, Mark from Uber Hints probably did it best. He had like a wonderful little rant about how the 103 sexual assault cases and how, you know what, he's tired of Uber just talking the talk and not actually fixing anything. You know what, I am too. You think making these videos are fun? Well, okay, let me take that back. Because making videos is fun. That's why I do it. That's why I'm on YouTube. I mean, people say, why are you a driver? I'm not really a driver. I'm a news commentator on YouTube, and Uber is something that I am very much involved in, or at least have been in the past, and thus I have a vested interest in seeing it change. And yet it never happens. Every time something happens, we get this same spiel. Oh, we've made mistakes in the past, but we are becoming a better company. We will fix it. And yet we keep reporting on these stories. Keep reporting on them. In the 103 sexual assault cases, Uber didn't volunteer information. It was found through hardcore digging. And you know what? When it was revealed, even Uber tried to brush it off to a certain extent. Yeah, they gave this spiel about how they were sorry and they're going to make things better. But they were saying, but you know, when you look at the 20 billion rides, 103 cases is really nothing. And it's like, yeah, you know what? We know that. We also know that the autonomous car that killed that woman was one car out of how many car crashes from humans. We know that. That's not a secret. But here's the thing. We're holding you to a higher standard. You are asking us to hold you to a higher standard. You are saying, we can be trusted. We have learned our lesson. And yet you never learn your lesson. Woman dies. Women are still being assaulted. Drivers are still getting attacked. Pay is still really low. You still don't fingerprint, even though that would, that would weed it out. I mean, a lot of the drivers, here's the thing, Uber says drivers don't want to be fingerprinted. We don't want a background check. No, that is not true. Cecily from Driver Girl Drive, she'd be fine being fingerprinted. Mark from Uber Hints, he'd be fine being fingerprinted. I haven't talked to Mike from Your Driver Mike. I am relatively certain he wouldn't mind being fingerprinted. I do not mind being fingerprinted. I don't mind. I have nothing to hide. But there's a problem when you start fingerprinting people. This is the real problem. If you fingerprint people, there's two things that happen. One, you have to fire a lot of drivers because you are going to find things that your basic piss-poor background check never actually finds. That's the first problem. Here's the second problem. Because it costs you, the company, a little bit of money, now you are investing in the drivers. You don't want to invest a cent into the drivers because once you do, those drivers become valuable. All of a sudden, the high turnover rate is something that your business model cannot rely on anymore. It cannot because you've invested money into them. And them going away, well, that's no bueno, as Katie would say. So Uber is not committed to safety. And they never have been, and they never will be. Not unless they are seriously regulated. Because if they have to spend a cent on you, then that makes you valuable to them. And they don't want you to be valuable to them. They want you to be unvaluable so that they can just get new drivers in. And if their driverless cars never gets back on the road, then, that's how it is. So I agree. I'm tired of this talk. I agree with Richard when he says, I'm going to read this again. I just love this. I challenge you to finally demonstrate how seriously you can take the issue of sexual harassment and assault. Your company must lead by example and show that it values transparency and your user safety more than your company's bottom line. This is not a mic, but mic drop. Come on, Uber. What's more important? Safety of your drivers and passengers or your money? Feel free to answer whenever you want. Anyway, what about you folks? What do you think Uber values more? What do you think of this whole situation? I'd love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy the videos I make, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's $1 a month. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.